Hello everybody, Martin here, back with a legacy video. So a few weeks back I had a comment suggestion on my YouTube channel by Andrew Simba, and the request was for me to play some blue-black omniscience. So, seeing as I pretty much had the deck, the cards for the deck, I decided to give it a whirl. So, Andrew, thanks a lot for watching and for suggesting this, and I hope that I don't embarrass myself too much, because I have to say I've never really played this deck before, and the more I play Show and Tell, the less of a Nimrod type of deck it seems to be for me. Like, I appreciate much more now, having played it, that there are a lot of intricacies. Yes, you can jam, you can, like in some builds, like the sneak attack version I've played, you can just jam Lotus Petal, Soul Land, and win. This version here is a little bit less brute force, but even in the Soul Land, Lotus Petal versions, there's still a lot, like there is more to it than, I suppose, that meets the eye, or at least than I thought there was. Anyways, so as luck would have it, I have at my local game store a buddy that also, well, not also, that actually has dedicated himself to playing this deck. So that's Kjartan Uldal, and Kjartan won a fairly big legacy tournament in Sweden, I think last year. Might be wrong about that, but it was like within the last year or so. Scandinavian Open, or Scandinavian Legacy Open. I think, unfortunately, they discontinued that tournament circuit. It was attempted to sort of copy the Star City Games sort of mold with a Standard Open and a Legacy Open. But Kjartan won that one, and he has been playing, as far as I know, he's been playing Show and Tell Omniscience since Omniscience was released. So that is for quite a few years now, and he is the closest thing I think there is to like a Show and Tell scholar. He really has tested and tested and tested and just played the deck and all the different variations, I think, of the deck. But he's always sworn to the Omniscience, so either a mono blue, but I think mostly with the black splash. So I went to Kjartan and I asked for like a list, and this is the list he gave me. It's, I think, what he would consider a stock list of what he's doing at the moment. Maybe there is some tech that he is testing out that is not in this list, but so basically, this deck wants to win by resolving Show and Tell. It is actually the only way this deck can win, so we have to resolve Show and Tell, barring some unrealistic hard casting Omniscience scenario. But so we need to resolve Show and Tell. We don't have the sneak attack as a backup. Once we resolve Show and Tell, we can either win through Cunning Wish, that gets either an Eladamri's Call, which then gets Emrakul, or we get Firemind's Foresight. Firemind's Foresight gets a Cunning Wish, Limdul's Vault, and a Brainstorm. And barring you not having enough life, this is actually deterministic, where in the Omni Sneak version I've played with, where Limdul's Vault is replaced by Impulse in the 2-drop slot of Firemind's Foresight, we can just continue until we find an Omniscience or an Emrakul with Limdul's Vault. Again, granted that we have enough life, and then we can cast Brainstorm, or we don't even need to cast Brainstorm, actually, never mind. We just leave the card on top with Limdul's Vault and win with Release the Ants. Now, an interesting card here is Limdul's Vault, which serves as a tutor. It is like a bit of a wall of text kind of card. It basically lets you search the top 5 cards of your library and then reorder them in any order. And you can repeat this process, bottoming the 5 that you just saw, and the only thing you have to do is pay 1 life. So you can do that for 1 life. You can then look at the next 5 cards, and then pay 1 more life. Look at the next 5 cards. So this is a pseudo tutor that is really effective, but it is card disadvantage. We don't get to draw a card with it. So um, I've dabbled with this card in Storm, and my sort of impressions there was that when it's good, it's fantastic, and a lot of the time it's just a dud. Like it's a terrible top deck when you like need to win now. It's a fantastic top deck if you've got a few turns to spare, or at least 1 turn, because then it just gets you the card that wins you the game. So yeah, kind of reminiscent of Vampiric Tutor, but obviously for twice the mana cost, blue-black instead of black-black, and yeah, might cost you more life, might cost you less. Now, mind you, there is a trick with this card, where if your deck does not divide by 5, you can actually merge cards from piles. You can sort of move cards out of a 1/5 card pile into another one, if that makes sense. It just requires you to have enough life to sort of cycle through your library with Limdal's Vault. This will very rarely come up, but it is a way. For instance, if you have to get 2 cards, if 1 card is not enough, if you must get Omniscience and Show and Tell, for instance, then if you are unlucky and there aren't any 5-card piles as your deck stands that has both cards in it, you can, like, by finding a pile with 1 card and then having the other card in the next pile, you can sort of move them like to being on top of each other, and then sort of cycle and like move through the library. I really hope that doesn't come up, because I'm pretty sure I'd mess that up. I spoke to Kyasin about it. He is a very he's very learned on this part and would be able to do it, but I just haven't really sat down and mapped it out in my head, and I'm not sure I'd be able to do it without mucking it up. So here, let's hope that doesn't come up. Alright, so the reason we splash black primarily is that we get the 4 Thoughtseizes main deck, and for a deck that has to win through Show and Tell, I guess we also get the Limdal's Vault, obviously, but when we have to win through Show and Tell, it's a bit more important to be able to nab like an Ashen Rider or some troublesome card that your opponent has in their hand, and know what you're show and telling into. We also get some nice sideboard options like Massacre, which might need to see a lot more play now that Death and Taxes has gotten the boosts that it has with the new conspiracy cards. Other than that, we're a Cunning Wish deck, so a large part of our sideboard is going to be instants. I won't touch on all of these. Noxious Revival was a card that Kyasin explained to me a sort of convoluted use for when going off with Release the Ants, where obviously you can, if you need to, you can bump a card to the top of your library if you were to have an Omniscience in the graveyard and for some reason you weren't able to find a high CMC card and you had an extra Cunning Wish, or something like that. But I also really like how you can mess up in the Reanimator matchup, you can, after sideboard, board in Surgical Extraction and then still have a pseudo graveyard removal from that you can fetch with Cunning Wish. So it doesn't work on an Exhume necessarily if they have 2 targets, but for Reanimate, this is a pretty sweet tech. So anyways, I'll leave it at this and see how we go. I'm kind of nervous that the few test games I've had with this I haven't done very well in, and I feel like it's being a Show and Tell deck that only runs 2 City of Traders as their only soul lands and no Lotus Petals means that it is a lot less sort of brute force, just win on turn 1, win on turn 2, win on turn 3. It's much more like set up, have the sensei's tops, get to like the final turn before you lose and then win kind of thing. So, but let's see if we can get an opponent.